Alright, what is up guys? So in today's Scratch tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make the Chrome Dino game that shows up when you have no internet on Scratch. Not Scratch, Google. And make sure you stick around till the end, because I'll be spinning a crazy penalty wheel and there's all sorts of consequences on here and they're not good, so you'll not want to miss that. And also I've made this tutorial a little different. I've broken it into chapters. It's a little bit of a longer video, but I separated it into chapters so you can skip around, pause it, and take a break and come back to it if you need to. And yeah, that's pretty much it, and thanks for 500 subscribers. Let's get right into it. Chapter 1, Player Physics. So what you're going to do is go to the description of this video and you're going to find a link that will take you to the assets for this game, which is a Scratch project. So what I did is I found the exact sprites from the actual Chrome Dino game and I ported them into Scratch and I edited them and I made them really nice looking so you can have your Chrome Dino game look exactly like the original. So once you go into that starter project, you're going to put this code into the Dino sprite. You're going to set the size to, you're going to set the size to 300 and switch the costume to idle, and then go to X -170, Y -50. And that's going to bring your Dino into the game like this, and it's looking good. And you're going to go ahead and make your ground sprite show up. And this one we're going to leave at size 100. And then we're just going to say when green flag clicked, and then go to X0, Y -64, looking good. And then next up, go back to your Dino sprite, and then we're going to make a new variable, and we're going to call it YVel, short for Y velocity. And then we can go ahead and set Y velocity to 0. And then drag on a forever loop next, and then inside that forever loop, you're going to put change Y by Y velocity, and you're going to drag the little variable into that one. And then after you do this, you're going to go back to your control tab and then drag out an if then else statement underneath your change Y by YVel block. And then we're going to say if our Y position is less than -49, then what we're going to do is set our Y velocity variable to 0. And then what we're going to do next is we're going to say set Y to -50 if that scenario is true. And then inside this if-then block, we're going to drag in a little if-then block, and we're going to say if, and we're going to drag one of the OR operators in. We're going to say if key space pressed, or if the up arrow key is pressed. And just so it's mobile friendly, we're going to add in one more, and we're going to say if mouse down, because this also means if you tap the screen. That looks good like that. And then we're going to say set Y velocity to, let's do 20. That looks good. And next up in the else part of this, we're going to drag in another if-then else statement. And then we're going to say if the key down arrow pressed, and unfortunately this is only for our PC users, so this is going to be so we can make our dinosaur duck. We're going to say if the key down arrow pressed, we're going to change Y velocity by -5, and this is so we can fast fall here. And then if we're not held down, we're going to change the Y velocity by -4. So we're going to add the duck feature later, and then we're going to see how this works. Okay, so it looks like we're a little bit too heavy, so our gravity is a little bit too strong. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this say change Y velocity by -4, change Y velocity by -3. And that's looking a lot better. So you can see that we can jump, our dinosaur can jump very nicely. I'm just going to hide that Y velocity variable and go on to chapter 2, animation. Alright, so next up what you're going to do is go to the ground sprite. And then once you do this, just go over to the control tab and then drag on a forever loop to the existing script you already have. And then inside that forever loop, you're going to say set X to, and then we're going to set X to 0, and then we're going to repeat until our X position is less than -480. And then inside that repeat until, we're going to say change X by -7. pretty good. And now our ground is moving and it looks like our dinosaur is running. And the next step, what we're going to do is we're going to look into our dino sprite. And the things that I'm going to include in the asset pack, the dinosaur sprite is going to have multiple costumes for running and then ducking and everything. So we're going to implement that now. So underneath our if key space pressed and all those ors there, we're going to drag an if then else statement, and we're going to say if the down arrow is pressed. And once again, this feature is only going to be available for our PC users. And then we're going to call this new variable we're going to create run or duck, question mark, hit OK. Just make that one hide for now, we don't need to be able to see that one. And then we're going to say if the key down arrow, we're going to say set run or duck to, and we're going to see what the exact thing is here. Okay, so duck and then run. We're going to say set run or duck to duck, all lowercase. We're going to duplicate it, drag it into the else side of this if else statement. We're going to say set run or duck to run. And that looks pretty good. So then go over to your events tab, grab a when green flag clicked button, and then say drag on a forever loop, and then say wait 0.1 seconds. Just like that. And then we're going to say switch costume to, and then we're going to drag in a join block, and then we're going to say join the run or duck variable, and then 1. Duplicate this and snap it on below that. Then we're going to just modify that and route it 2 there. And that's going to make us make our legs keep running no matter if we're ducking or running. And you'll see here it works perfectly. It's looking great, more like the real game. We can duck and run normally, and our legs are still going to be moving. Looks fantastic. Let's keep going. And then go over to your cloud sprite, and then we're just going to make it show. The size should be 300 here. We're going to say when green flag clicked, set size to 300. Just like that. And then we're going to have it hide. And then drag on a forever loop. And then inside that forever loop, you're going to say go to, or on the top of the forever loop, you're going to say go to x270, y0. And then forever, we're going to create a clone of ourselves, and then wait, let's say 2 seconds. Looks really good. And then we're going to repeat, drag in a repeat until block. And then, actually never mind, do not. Drag a when I start as a clone block. And then we're going to say, here's our repeat until block, drag that on underneath it. And then we're going to say repeat until our x position is less than -270. And then what we're going to be repeating is we're going to be changing x by -3. And then underneath that, always remember to have the delete this clone. When I start as a clone, we're going to show up. And now we're going to go, and it's looking good. The only thing is those clouds are super duper small. I don't know if y'all see that or not. But I think we should fix that next. But they're actually going a little bit too fast there, so we're going to say change x by -2. And then next up, we're going to say set y to. Then we're going to have a random value, so they're kind of spawning in the right spot, because you saw that they were pretty low there. And then we're going to see how they spawn in here. And it looks good. And then what we're going to do is we're going to paint a new thing. We're going to need to do a size hack, because you're not going to have to do this, but because I'm going to include this in the asset pack, but I'm working on it. So, and then we're going to just say switch costume to costume 2, set size to 300, and then switch costume to costume 1. And this was one of the size hacks I taught in one of my previous videos. You should go check it out. It was the secret scratch tricks and tips and tricks that everyone should know. And yeah, it's the size hack, so that we implemented that nicely. And we're actually going to make the range a little bit lower, so we're going to say pick random 50 to the top one, which is I think 160. And yeah, it's looking really good. Then we're going to make it smaller here. And then next up, we're going to go back to our looks tab, and we're going to say go to back layer. This is going to be very important here. Next up, we got chapter 3, coding the enemies. And then right here, we're going to go back to our ground sprite. Go to your variables tab, say make a new variable. We're going to call it difficulty. This is going to be where we can adjust how fast it's moving or how hard the game is to play. So underneath the when green flag clicked block, we're going to say set difficulty to 7. And then repeat until x position is less than negative 480. We're going to change x by difficulty times negative 1. What this is going to do is it's going to change 7 into negative 7, so we're going to still be going this way. Whichever way it is, I don't know what the camera's going to do. But then go to your enemy sprite and then make it show up. And then we're going to make the size 300 eventually. But for now, drag in a when green flag clicks block. And underneath that, we're going to say set size to 300. Perfect. The cactuses are right there. And then we're just going to find a good Y position for those, or how high they're going to be on the screen. And then that looks pretty good to me. We're going to then go over to our motion tab. And we're going to say go to X 270, Y negative 46. And then drag in a forever loop beneath all this. And once you do that, go back to your variable tab. We're going to make a new variable and we're going to call it spawn speed. And this one is going to be able to control how fast the enemies spawn in. I don't know that we're going to use this, but we're going to have it in here just in case. And then when the green flag is clicked, set spawn speed to, we're going to say 5 for now. Just like that. And then once you do that, we're going to say wait spawn speed seconds. And then later on, we're going to change this to something for closer to 2, I think. This is just going to make it spawn faster for the game, but for now, 5 is fine. And then after you do this, drag in a when I start as a clone block. And then after you do this, we're going to make a new variable and call it cactus or bird. Because in the actual Google Chrome Dinosaur game, there's cactuses and there's birds that fly around across the screen. And we have a lot of different choices in here in the enemy sprite. And then for now, we're going to set cactus or bird to cactus. This is going to be a good starting point for us here. We're going to say switch costume to, and then we're going to drag in another join block just like earlier. And then we're going to say, and on the other side of that, pick random 1 to 5. And we're going to say join cactus or bird variable, and then we're going to join that to pick random 1 to 5. This is going to give us a nice range for our cactus and bird here. And then underneath that, we're going to say repeat until our X position is less than negative 270. Just like that, it's looking good. And then what we're going to repeat until our X position is less than negative 270 is just like before, we're going to change our X by the difficulty variable times negative 1, just so it's moving in the proper direction. And underneath that, as always, delete this clone. And then now we wait and see the magic. Okay, it's looking really good. We have our cactus here and we can jump over it. But I think that the gravity is still a little bit wrong, so we still feel a little bit too heavy. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make the gravity a little bit lighter, just because it'd be really hard for whoever's playing this game to jump over the cactus, and we don't really want that. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it a little bit lighter. We're going to say, on the if key down arrow press, we're going to say 3.5 and 2.5 but negative. And I think this is looking a lot better, so we can more easily jump over the cacti here. And then next over, we're going to go back to our ground sprite, and we're going to set the difficulty to 9. This is going to make it move a little bit faster, which is going to in turn make it much, much easier for us to jump over the cacti. There it is, it's already moving a lot better. Then next up, we're going to make a new variable. We're going to call it probability. And then just go ahead and hit for this sprite only. That is going to be very important. And then once you do that, hit OK. And when I start as a clone, we're going to set probability to pick random 1 to 8. And then we're going to drag an if then and else statement. And then inside that, we're going to say if the probability variable equals to 8, then we're going to signal to our game that boom, we need to have a bird spawn in. That is going to be very crucial to this. And then the else side of this, we're just going to have the other I guess 1 in 7 chance, and we're going to set the cactus or bird variable to cactus. Drag this underneath the set probability to pick random 1 to 8 variable, and yeah, you have that. Duplicate this whole script here, and then just going to drag all this off to the side, because we just need that when I start as a clone block. We're going to drag an if then statement. Inside that, we're going to have a forever loop, and then we're going to say if cactus or bird is equal to bird, then we're going to repeat something forever, and we're going to call it switch costume to bird 2, switch costume to bird 1, wait 0.1 seconds, and then we're going to switch the costume back to bird 2. And make sure you duplicate this so you still have your wait time implemented in there. And then we're going to see how this runs. So perfect, we got a bird right away, and we can see that it's looking good. That's awesome. And then going back to our scripting here, we're going to duplicate this little go to x270 y negative 46 block. We're going to drag that to the else side of the if the probability is equal to 8 script, and then just go ahead and duplicate that, and then drag it into the other side as well. And once you do that, we're going to set our y position to pick random negative 46 to 57. And this is going to just allow the bird to have a more random height, just like in the real game. Just duplicate this when I start as a clone block. Underneath it, drag on a forever loop, and then say if then. And then we're going to say if we're touching the dino. And this is where we're going to signal if we've actually touched the hazard. If so, we're going to have to do the game over sequence. So just make a new message and say broadcast game over. Go over to your game over sprite. And then we're going to say when green flag clicked, we're going to hide. This way when the player restarts the game, then the game over message goes away. Set the size to 300 real quick. And then I think that it's a little bit too low, so we're going to say go to x0y50. And then we're going to say when I receive game over, we're going to show. This is going to make sure that the message pops up as soon as we hit either the cactus or the bird. After that, we're going to say stop all. Okay, perfect. You can see that it worked okay. But next up, we're going to implement a feature where we're still able to see the cactuses and the the clouds to stop moving. So we're going to say if touching dino, instead of broadcasting that message, we're going to set our new alive variable to 0. Snap this on here. Make sure you have your script that looks like this. Snap it back on here, and then we're also going to do that for the bird to stop flapping if you get hit, just so it's more realistic. Okay, everything's looking pretty good. We're going to go back to the ground sprite here, and we're going to say if alive equals 1, then we're going to be moving, because obviously we want the ground to stop moving if we're moving. And then we're going to do the same thing in the cloud sprite, and then just drag it onto here. Looking good. Make sure you have this script here, and we're going to run it. Okay, looks pretty good. So we can see that our dinosaur feet are still moving, so we're going to need to fix that up really quick. Go to the dino here, and then right here we see it's a simple fix. All we need to do is when we receive game over, we're going to go ahead and stop all the other scripts in this sprite. That'll make sure everything shuts down except this one sprite here. And then next up, I think there's a problem. So yeah, the game over message does not show up if that pops up. So make sure you have the switch costume to game over on the dino. And then for the enemies, we're just going to broadcast game over. We're going to run it again, and then we're going to see what happens. Okay, so it still did the thing, and I know exactly why. So we need to go back to our game over sprite, and you can see here that this little stop all block was running. So now just take that out of there and run your game and try to run into a cactus and see what happens. Perfect, it's looking really good. Chapter 4, adding a scoring system. So for the last chapter, we're going to go ahead and add a scoring system. Before we do this, we're going to set our spawn speed variable to 2. This way we can have our timing exactly as it is in the regular game. See, as soon as one cactus or bird goes off the screen, the next one spawns in. And if you go check this out for yourself in the actual Google Chrome Dino game, you'll see this is exactly how it looks. Next up, go to your score sprite. We're going to make a new variable and call it score. We're going to say when the green flag is clicked. Then we're going to drag in a forever loop. And then go ahead and drag a wait X amount of seconds block. We're going to say 0.1. And then inside that, we're going to say change score by 1. Say wait 0.1 seconds, and then when I receive game over, then we're going to stop all the other scripts in the sprite. This is just going to make sure that we don't keep counting as soon as it is. The next step, go make a block. Scroll down there and make it, and we're going to say display score at, and then you're going to do display score at x colon, and we're going to say add an input, just call it x, add a label, say y colon, add an input, say y, add another label, and we're going to say spaced at, and we're going to say input x pound sign. And then we're going to need to run this without screen refresh, but for now we're fine. And then go back to your variables, and we're going to create a new variable called digit. This is extremely important. Say for the sprite only, we're going to set digit to 1 or 0, 1, and then go ahead and click off of that. And then underneath that, say go to X, and then drag in the X and Y from your custom block. And then underneath all this, we're going to say repeat 5, because there's 5 digits in the score in the Chrome Dino game. And inside that, we're going to create the clone of ourselves, and then this is where it's going to come in handy. We're going to change X by our X pound. We want to run this block without screen refresh. We'll do that in a second. But after this, we're going to change digit by 1. And then to the side here, say when green flag clicked, hide. And then drag in this custom block we made. Beautiful right there. And we're going to say display score at X 160, Y 160, spaced at 15. This is going to be a good spacing here. And then over in this space, we're going to drag in a when I start as a clone block. And this, we're going to need some math here because there's a cool system where we're going to have the score displayed. You'll see in a second. So say when I start as a clone, show. And then underneath that, drag an if then statement. And then we're going to say if digit is equal to 1. This is going to be the first digit in our number. If our digit is equal to 1, we're going to switch costume to, then we're going to drag an operator. We're going to say floor, which rounds the number down no matter what it is. 3.9 is going to become 3, 3.1 is going to be 3. Drag that in there. Next up, we're going to drag in the mod block. And we're going to next drag in a divided by block in the first section of that mod block. And then in the first part of the division, what we're going to need to do is divide the score by 10. Actually, not 10. We're going to divide the score by 10,000. That's a little bit more than 10. Mod 10. And then once you do this, duplicate it, and we're going to repeat the process. Change the digit to 2, and then do 1,000 rather than 10,000. Mod 10, same thing. Go ahead and keep duplicating here, and just take off 1 0 of this divide by thing. And then just adjust the digit variable here. And then that's actually going to need to be a 4. And the next one's going to be a 5. And then we're going to say switch costume. On the last one, we just need switch costume to floor of score, and then mod 10. We're going to say if the digit is equal to 1. And then we're going to change this to 4 and 5. And then right here, we're going to need to drag in a forever loop to all of this so it's constantly updating. And that's looking good so far. Set the score to 0 as the game starts when the green flag is clicked. Full screen it, and we're going to see our scoring system. And there it is. It looks beautiful. And you can see it works perfectly. And yeah, looks good. And next up, I think we're going to run this without screen refresh, because when we were spawning in, it was, you could see all the numbers going tuk 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 tuk, and we don't really want that to be there. So next up, for our ground here, we're going to say set difficulty to 0.1. And we're just going to make this a little bit easier to adjust here. We're going to drag in a 9 plus difficulty, snap that onto the change X by 9 plus difficulty times -1. And you're going to see that it's going to run exactly the same, but this is going to make it so where it's much easier to adjust our difficulty in a way that makes sense when we are programming our game. And then inside this, we're going to say change X by 9 plus difficulty times -1, just like it was last time. And then next up, we're going to scroll over to our cloud sprite. And then over here, we're going to go to our score sprite. And then, yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to say change score by 1 plus difficulty. And that's going to make sure we our score goes up faster and faster as we progress in our game. And we're going to make sure we round this just to avoid any funky errors with our score there. So that looks really good here. We're going to go back to our variables, and then we're going to say change difficulty by 0.01 here. That's going to be good here. And then we're going to run our game and see how it works. Okay, it looks really good. We have our, what's it called? We have our scoring nicely. And then inside our score sprite, we're going to say when green flag clicked forever. And then we're going to say if our score is greater than 9,999, we're going to need to adjust that here. Then we're going to set our score back to 0. Because I don't know what happens. I think I know what happens in the real game. Once you get to 9,999, 100,000 would max out our digits, so we need to reset the game back to 0. We're going to set the score to 0 and set the difficulty back to 0.1. And then you know what? Chapter 5. Let's add a high score feature. Because why not? So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and duplicate our score sprite here. Drag it over here. We're going to rename it high score. And this is going to be really simple. We're just going to take this script, scrap it off to the side. We don't need it. We need that one. Yeah, we do definitely need that one. Clip that spread out of here. And we're going to make a new variable called your high score. We're not going to have any global high scores because the real Chrome Dino game does not have that. So we're going to just be competing against ourselves, trying to get the highest score we can. And then we're going to say if our score is greater than your high score, set high score to score. This is going to update it here. And then the last thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to update our position first and foremost here. We're going to display our high score at x60 rather than x160, and that looks perfect. And then it's looking really good here. And then we can easily jump over the cactus here. And yeah, it's looking good, so go ahead and stop it. And then we're still displaying on both of these numbers. We're still displaying the regular score. So what we're going to need to do is on the big math section here, we're going to need to, instead of saying floor of score, we're going to say floor of high score, or your high score. And then just replace all the scores variables with your high score variables. And that is looking pretty good. And that's looking good, looking good. And then the last thing we're going to need to do is we're going to change, we're going to go to our sprite 1 here, and we're just going to say show after our when green flag click block, and then we're going to say go to x, x5, y 180, just show up. And that is pretty much it, folks. We have our fully functioning, identical replica of the Chrome Dino game, and it's looking really good. It's great to be back. But now, the moment I think we've all been waiting for, and to be honest with you, I don't really care if you skip past this long tutorial to get to the best part of this video, which is the wheel spin. Let's get right into it. Alright, so here it is, the Wheel of Doom. So before I spin, I'm going to tell y'all some of the consequences on here. We have eat a spoonful of hot sauce, post a scratch rap song, wear a bicycle helmet in the next video, do a belly flop into the ocean, do 50 push-ups, comment I use the big boy potty. These are pretty awful, either one, whichever one we get, I say we just spin. Post a scratch rap song. Well, I guess I'll see you soon with a scratch rap song. Laters.